Hello and welcome back to another episode of Critical Reactions. We're going to wrap up today with a special selection, which is where one of you tell me exactly what it is I need to check out. Today's comes at us from Samuel. Hey Bryan, I'm a viewer from Germany and I love your reactions because I actually learned stuff about music through them. Well, that's awesome. That's why we're doing this. I came across my channel because of Neo, but we're actually looking at something else today. A song that I love a lot is DJ TOTTO's "Dornwald." I have no clue how no one ever reacted to this masterpiece of a song that was made in 2018 for the game Beatmania. I don't know why, but I love every second about this song and its structure. Please make sure to listen to the 5-minute version. Pay close attention to the keyboard. I don't think it's possible to play. Thank you for your great reactions, and I'm ready for more insane metal in the future. Cheers, Sam. Alright, let's dive into this. I'm quite aware of Beatmania, but it was never my jam. I was more of a Taiko no Tatsujin or Dance Dance Revolution kind of guy, but I love me some rhythm games, so it'll be interesting to hear something off of the Beatmania soundtrack. Alright, let's hit it, find out what's going on. Yeah. Oh. Yeah, going from really beautiful movement to this repetitive buildup. Strings in the background, really nice rising intensity, creating anticipation for what comes next. Yep, I can already see the 30-second note, white and blue bars coming down from the top of the screen that matches the piano line. I love the triplets on the violin in that last section. It is interesting that as dominant as the piano was at the beginning, that it's pushed so far into the mix on this one. And this song was written for this game. Because if I wasn't told that, I'd almost wager that it was a remix of a film soundtrack, given what it's doing. I like whatever bass line this is here in the center channel. It's really interesting to hear the hymnic harmonies popping up every once in a while against the more modern chord progressions in most of the track, and then the Baroque influences early on. Compositionally, this thing's kind of all over the place as far as harmonic resonance. Yeah, I enjoyed that though. It's not something I would typically listen to, but it was a fun listen for a reaction, that's for sure. Um, a lot of it though is driving techno. Is that what this is? I know I've used that wrong in the past. It's electronica. We'll go with the umbrella term. There is usually one instrument doing 30-second. Oh no, I guess they're 16th notes, aren't they? It's a faster tempo. Yeah, there's 16th notes then. Um, whatever tempo that is, boom, 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 and that's got to be at least 130 right there. Um, yeah, so they're constant 16th notes. Somebody's doing it. Whether it is a faster bass line that we heard at one point, it was a bit rhythmic. Though. It was like bump 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 bump. It had like a groove to it that wasn't the straight 16th notes that we got from the piano through most of this. So the bass did carry it for about 8 bars coming into our final section. Then we also had, the piano was doing this fast 16th notes, constant runs throughout most of the track. Occasionally, when they decided to dip out for a second, the violin took over. There's almost always some instrument doing these constant 16th notes. It keeps the song driving forward, and it's paired with this, four on the floor, bass heavy, electronic bass kick. And it keeps the intensity and energy up. And if that was the only thing the song had to offer, I would definitely have not walked away from this as positive as I did. I'm glad that they decided to explore other avenues because it allows the song to breathe a little bit. I did find that we frequently landed back on this sound, a very modern mainstream harmonic concept with the piano shredding and the four on the floor. We came back to it more often than I would have liked, but we also deviated from it quite frequently as well, which was, like I said, it's just a really nice palate cleanse, I think, for me, though that probably comes from the idea that this isn't typically my cup of tea, so I can't say I was on board with it every single time it came back. But that's to say that if you really enjoy this type of electronica, you probably don't have a problem with it constantly returning back to this sound. But we also deviate from it. Our opening is gorgeous. It's just this beautiful piano opening, completely linear, diving through several complex harmonic ideas. Just gorgeous melodies on top of it. We have the strings come in halfway through this idea, and it is just some of the best solo plus accompaniment classical writing that I've heard come out in the past couple of years as far as finding that medium point between leaning into what the genre does well and making it palatable for a mainstream audience. Um, and it is just it is flashy, but it's restrained. It is just gorgeous in every right. Just a beautiful way to introduce the track, but it also kind of disguises what the song is. I kind of hoped more of the track would have been similar to this opening. We come out of it, though, into a very repetitive section, and this sets up what the rest of the song is going to do, which is and it's going to be an electronic song. There's going to be loops in here. We're not going to have linear ideas from this point forward. But our loops do explore some interesting aspects. We do bring in a choir from time to time, and sometimes they're harmonically aligned with the more modern approach to harmony writing, and sometimes they break into a more Baroque style of hymnic writing. And it's really interesting to hear the song whip between those two and not really feel too out of place. I'm not sure if that is something on the production side. Maybe there is something in the composition, a foreshadowing of it that I didn't pick up on. It makes it feel more natural of transition. But I mean, it also just comes out of nowhere too. Like, all right, we're listening to this. Oh, snap! Here's some hymn stuff. um, and that's fun. And then we had like some very Baroque piano playing at one point. So we do deviate from the modern composition style, at least harmonically, every once in a while. And like I said, it's just a really good palate cleanser. And the fact that I don't think we reused anything twice other than, the modern electronica sound. Um, Everything else is a one-off. We've done the hymn thing, now we're not going to do it again. We might bring back the choir, but we're not going to have that harmony anymore, that chord progression. So that was neat. We also had some avant-garde style dissonance out of our piano as a transition. It was two chords that were just, felt like just flat handing the whole thing, just whatever notes you get, and pulling a lot of dissonance out of that. Interesting idea. I don't know that it necessarily worked, but once again, as a palate cleanser, that was, a one-off. It lines up with a lot of the other ways that ideas outside of the typical electronica stuff works its way into this track, um, and functions as little deviations. So I kind of wish I had a stronger sense of the flow of the song. From my perspective, which is a little blurry, the song moved at a blistering pace, and I'm not going to say that I have a really strong read of the structure of it. But from my blurry perspective, we have our intro, which was a fake out for me. And then we had our electronic section and then a deviation. The electronic section, a deviation. The electronic section. All the electronic sections were different, but very similar in makeup. They might have had different chord progressions, or I think the piano line might have been different. The melody line might be different, but the makeup is all the same. Driving bass, 16th notes on some lead instrument, and then some atmospheric stuff. Usually the strings would, like the general string section, because we also had a violin that took lead or secondary sometimes as well. They were all pretty much, like I said, similar ideas, if not identical, but similar. And this is the structure I feel, is home, deviate, home, deviate, home, deviate. And I don't know necessarily what I'm supposed to get out of that, especially when a lot of the song feels adventurous. I had mentioned that if I didn't know this came specifically from a game designed for, and a rhythm game at that, there's absolutely no context around the track. I would have guessed that this was a remix of film score, because there's a very epic, adventurous vibe going on here. And, I can see wide, establishing shots of like mountains and hills and like these tiny little, our actors were just so far away from him, trekking over this vast land, trying to get to some distant place to do some epic quest or whatever. And like that's what the composition is telling me, aside from the techno-y rhythms, and the fast piano work. The chords are very epic in a lot of this, very epic fantasy, if I want to get into like stereotypical sounds of film score. And so that's what the song says to me, but then it also says I'm at a club and there's a pianist with their fingers on fire shredding over there, and like it all feels very distant to me. The song itself feels cohesive, but when I think about what it's trying to tell me, I'm getting very different visuals out of that. And that's where part of my confusion comes from. I don't know what it's trying to say. It's very cool, and if it just wants to be a cool track, much like, a lot of metal, the riffs don't mean much, especially when you look at older metal. Rule of cool, right? Does it sound awesome? Then let's play it. And that might be what's going on here. This is a very cool track. There's a lot of cool elements that come together in a way that just feels awesome. But I don't know what it's trying to say, if it's doing anything beyond that, because everything feels just a tad bit too much disparate. And I think that's really the last thing I can say about, theme and what I think it's doing. Because at the end of the day, now that I've said it, I think that's what this is. This is just a Rule of Cool track. Now, it was brought up in the request that I don't think the piano part is playable. I'm going to take a second to see if somebody is... I'm going to assume that the person's looked it up on YouTube. If there's a cover of it, I'm going to check, and then we'll talk about that. Alright, so there are no videos of anybody playing it. However, I did find the sheet music of the 2-minute version, which unfortunately does not include the intro, but it does have the fast part, which I think is what Samuel finds the most incredulous to have, to do a cover of, the most difficult. And I don't think I used incredulous correctly. The most difficult to do. And so I'm looking at this, and the first thing I notice is, should I even put this on the screen? It's 169. So I said over at least 130. It's 170 almost. Definitely a faster track. It is primarily composed of 16th notes though. Just a lot of 16th notes, and only 8th notes in the left hand, occasionally using odd groupings of tuplets. Let me pull this up real quick. That is not what that was supposed to be. There we go. Bit off. Dang, I wish I could make that bigger though. I need to update this to be more in line with the live stream format, where I can flip between the two, and I can put myself in the corner and the sheet music down here. The thing is though, 170 beats per minute, 16th notes. That's tough. It's difficult, but it's doable. There have been pianists who have played faster. So this is not impossible, just no one's done it yet. However, I'm kind of wondering, I'm not a really big YouTuber, and I'm not going to say I'm really big in the music community at all, but I'm wondering if I could find a pianist and say, or maybe just email a bunch of them, that's probably what I'll do, just scattershot it. Hey, here's some really tough stuff, no one's made a cover of it, could you do this? Although I do want to find the full 5-minute version, because the intro is gorgeous. But yeah, it's doable, no one's just done it yet. And I would love to be the person who is the catalyst to somebody making the first cover, at least on YouTube, of this track. So anyways, those are my thoughts. It's a really cool jam. It's got a ton of fantastic moments in it. It doesn't really make a whole lot of sense to me, but at the same time, it's really cool at almost every moment of the track, and maybe that's all it needs to be. So, those are my thoughts on DJ TOTTO's Dornwald. What did y'all think of this? Put your thoughts, perspectives, comments, etc. in the comments. Above the comments, head into the description box. In there you'll find a link to Linktree. It takes you to this menu. You can find my music, ways to support the channel, a link to the Discord server, and so much more. Above that, if you could, like, subscribe, and ring the bell. I greatly appreciate all three of those. Alright, that wraps this one up. I'll be back tomorrow. We're going to do more of the wild shifts, check out another special selection, and all that jazz. Probably won't be jazz, but You know, it's a phrase, right? Whatever. Until next time, remember to be critical, not cynical, of the music you listen to, and have a fantastic morning, afternoon, or evening whenever you choose to watch my videos.